It's really an extraordinary development. It is the American Society of Clinical Oncology Advance of the Year in 2018 and was the same for Science, the journal Science, in 2013. This is a therapy that is truly personalized precision medicine, whereby we take patients' T cells out of their blood. T cells normally should prevent us from developing cancer, but they fail us when we develop a cancer. They are genetically re-engineered in the laboratory, expanded, and then infused back into the patients. And we've seen some truly stunning results in patients not previously seen in the types of patients that we're treating. Two principal diseases that have been successful and received Food and Drug Administration approval for the first genetically modified therapy in the history of our nation are CAR T cells for acute lymphoblastic leukemia, most common childhood and young adult leukemia, and diffuse large cell lymphoma, the most common form of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma in adults. And the results are unprecedented. It's really quite a remarkable development. The patients who have qualified to date have been patients who have relapsed and chemotherapy-resistant disease. And for those patients, survival is expected to be really quite short, numbered in months, not years. And they are extremely unlikely to respond to any other subsequent type of chemotherapy. And for those patients, for example, in acute lymphoblastic leukemia, we've been seeing complete remissions exceeding 80%. And for patients with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, specifically diffuse large cell lymphoma, we've been seeing complete remission rates of 50% when only 7% would have been expected otherwise to achieve such a remission. So those results, as I mentioned, are very much unprecedented in our field and revolutionizing cancer medicine. And it's important to point out that this therapy is not only being employed in these diseases, for which there is now an FDA indication, but many studies are ongoing in the United States in other types of blood cancers, such as other forms of leukemia, a disease called multiple myeloma, still investigational, but we're seeing some promising signals of effectiveness, and moving into solid tumor space, with solid tumors meaning such cancers as breast cancer, colon cancer, lung cancer. Again, still very much in the experimental stages. So we have, for example, 7 studies about to be opened in our own center and several that are already enrolling patients on national trials studying these CAR T cells. Undoubtedly, that's true. We really expect that this is going to continue to expand significantly. There are rapidly advancing scientific discoveries and new modifications of these CAR T cells that are making them safer for patients. There are significant toxicities associated with current therapies and making them more effective for our patients. And so we're seeing a lot of excitement in the field and rapid expansion, and many investigational studies opening around the nation and actually in other nations as well. You know, this is something that has been evolving for a couple of decades now on the shoulders of many men and women in scientific laboratories throughout our nation, and is now coming to fruition. And again, to take, for example, a 25-year-old with acute lymphoblastic leukemia who's relapsed and resistant to therapy and only expected to survive for a couple of months, and get that patient into complete remission and potentially have cured them, well, gosh, that's what it's all about for our team. And it's hard to describe how incredibly satisfying and uplifting that is for our team. So it's absolutely the best of the best when that happens. It doesn't happen with everybody. And there are toxicities associated with this therapy that can be limiting for some patients. In large cell lymphoma, in our patients who are receiving therapy, a 33-year-old mother with 3 little kids at home, a teacher in a school, treated with CAR T cells, goes into complete remission, is 3 years out now in complete remission, back to teaching, back with her 3 children when she would have been expected to survive just 6 months previously. How do you put your feelings about that kind of response into words? It's really very difficult. But I think everyone hearing this can get a sense of how incredibly wonderful that is. I think the future looks really extraordinary. We're in the midst of a revolution in cancer medicine. This is just one front in that revolution. There are others as well where we're seeing exciting developments not previously seen in the field of cancer medicine. We're really moving toward a future of much more precise, much more effective therapies than our traditional chemotherapies and radiation therapies that have been available for decades for our patients. And so I think that this next 10 years is going to be a spectacular change in the way cancer therapeutics are delivered, the effectiveness, and the toxicities that we've seen historically. One T cell has the ability to attack and kill many thousands of cancer cells and destroy them. So these T cells, after they've been engineered and are infused back intravenously into the patient, sweep around the body, they attach to the cancer cells, they punch a hole in the cancer cells, and then these little molecules called granzymes race through those holes and chop up the DNA in the cancer cell. And once that T cell has done its job on a cancer cell, it breaks loose and goes and seeks out another cancer cell, attaches to that, and does the same process. And that happens many thousands of times for an individual T cell. And we infuse millions of T cells into patients with this therapy.
Robert, R-O-B-E-R-T, Zackert, Z-A-C-K-E-R-T, and I go by my middle name, Brad. Like with my first treatment was in '08, and I did a chemo treatment called RCHOP, and that's just the medicines that you get, the chemotherapies that you get. And I was in remission for 7 years, which, you know, I thought I kind of had it licked then, and then found out that it was back. And in 16, I had a stem cell, and it was my own stem cells, which is good thing. And I thought I had it licked again. You know, I think I'm good for 20 years. And my 2-year anniversary came, and I had a PET scan back in, I think, March, and it came back. 10 years, yeah, absolutely. And that's when I was came here for we were like consultation on what were my options, and CAR T came up, and I was a little leery because it was kind of experimental, just got approved, 50-50 I kind of heard, side effects involved, so I was a little unsure. Yeah, but Dr. McGuirk met with us after the fact, and explained it, and bottom line is, you know, if I don't do this, what are you going to do, Brad? You know, and so we went full speed ahead with CAR T, and thank goodness. It was 6/8 when I checked into the hospital. 2 weeks prior to that is when they take your cells and they send them to a lab in California, and basically, the way I understand it, they get re-engineered, and basically the stem cells have little arms on them. So when they're reintroduced into the body, they attack the cancer with those little arms. They're able to poke at that cancer. And, you know, 30 days later, I get my PET scan, and according to Dr. Ganguly, pretty much total remission. So after 30 days, which I don't know if that's happened yet with a CAR T patient yet or not, but thank goodness I got those results. My wife and I were so happy, and here I am. Chemo with the RCHOP wasn't too bad. Now with the stem cell, the duration was longer, and it was, people ask me, is CAR T tougher than stem cell? And it's just different. Your stem cell was longer duration. Chemo was a lot tougher. They give you beam, which takes you down to ultimate zero, and it was rough. CAR T's really no picnic either, but cancer's a tough disease, so you know. The hospital stay was a little tough. The 10 days there. Chemo wasn't too bad. I just had 3 rounds of it. So they're both tough, just in a different way. So very thankful that I did decide, and it took a family, you know, it took my kids, my wife talking about it, and it seemed like the obvious choice. We got to go forward and give this CAR-T a chance, and thank goodness it's worked. You want to pick up where you left off and be able to do the things that you did before, and it seems like every day I'm getting stronger. You know, I love to fish, I love sports, I love, my wife and I just got back from Colorado earlier this year because before I went into the CAR-T, we thought we better take a trip, and we can do that. Really, there's nothing that I can't do that I did before. I've always been very positive, and you know, I'm never going to give up. Just with the CAR-T, with the information I had, I wasn't sure. But after talking with the family and Dr. McGuirk, it seemed like the obvious place to go.
Janet, Janet, Zackert, Zackert. It's our 25th wedding anniversary.
This year, yeah, July 31st.
To get the news that he was in complete remission was the best gift I could ever get. When you first hear it, you don't know how to respond because you're just taking it all in, because before you come to one of those appointments, you literally, in your mind, you're playing out, it could be bad, it could be good, whatever it is, you know, we'll go, you know, keep fighting. And so to think that after such a short period that he was in complete remission, and I think really one of the first to be in complete remission at that early in
30 days.
Thrilled, absolutely thrilled. God is good.
Well, I just want to thank the KU medical staff, the doctors, the nurses, everyone. Just been amazing. It just made it so much easier.
Not going to get better care anywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, truly.
I would definitely recommend CAR-T. It gives people another chance, and from what I've seen is very effective. And hopefully won't have to worry about cancer period.
What happened was we had a trip planned for August, and then this all happened, and so we went back to the doctors and said, so they took his cells, you know, did his
And you gotta wait.
and there's a 17 to 21 day waiting period, and so we went to them and said, would it be okay if we took a trip? And they said about 4 days, and so our trip changed, but it was
great.
Got to go on a trip.
We stayed up at the YMCA of the Rockies and went to the national park and just had a great time.
Name and date of birth for me.
Robert B. Zackert,
Boat and ferry.
Yeah, I don't miss the pig line or the trifusion, but until now. So, you know, it's just like plug it in. People always ask me why you go by Brad. It's like, I don't know. I mean, as a kid, everybody just started calling me.
Like, who is that? What is your first name? I can look at it.
You know, going to bars and it's always that Roger Dodger.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Take your friend with you.
Lovely. Doing great. Just trying to get stronger. Wife and I have been walking every morning.
Excellent.
So it seems like I always wake up at like 12 or 1 o'clock at night. And it takes me a little while, but I always go. Past 2 nights, I've slept clear through. So I think that's even improving.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes maybe I fall asleep too early, like 8 or 9 o'clock. What time, honey? About 6?
5:36.
Yeah.
Early.
And it's nice. Cannot complain. I wish anyway, that blood pressure has me.
Yeah.
See, and then you start thinking about it, then you get more upset.
It keeps walking.
Yeah,
It keeps walking and hopefully walk forever.
exactly. That's what I'm hoping for.
Me too. Me too. Me too.
1.7. Your sodium is slightly low, but That was
For-
another number he was really
But
upset
for me, that's good.
That's
really
really good
good.
for you.
Yeah.
I know you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you got it.
Everything looks really great.
And then what about this? So okay. And what about are the chemical or the
That's
white
why-
cell
yeah.
are those back? Oh
4.8
right.
normal.
Oh wow. Went from 3.3 to 4.8, honey.
It's normal now.
Yeah. That's incredible. Very good. Can I get a copy of that?
Of
Yes.
course. Of course.
Was I mean couldn't done it without you.
Came through nicely.
Alrighty.
Nicely. Thank you guys. Yeah.
And if you're a community member who's not an employee, they give you like gift cards to AMC or like gift cards to restaurants. And,
I know they're nasty, Lauren. Well, we got one calcium now, huh?
Yeah. No, if it needs to stay in here, by all means, keep it in here.
23 mils of citrate.
Okay. Scan back label.
Always makes me schmooze.
Does it? Oh, that's not a bad thing. Then.
No. Well, that would make today, I guess. If I snooze in, I snooze out, it's because of the Benadryl.
Hi.
Hello.
How you
Hi,
doing?
Doc.
Welcome back.
I'm here.
Excellent.
I didn't
Excellent.
get lost. Been to the neurologist twice already.
Okay, how are you feeling?
All right.
Any problems, any discomfort?
No, not really.
Excellent, excellent. Listen, we are here now.
It's possible to trust me.
Good morning.
Morning.
I'm Kathy, and I'm going to be giving your cells. And do you have a cuff someplace? No, that's not.
And last time it took, I want to say 7 or 8 months. Takes a little longer than our, but I did check on it several times.
Foam over.
And I just.
Oh, the cooler.
Oh. I don't have the tap.
Oh, you don't?
No.